Elon Musk has surprised everyone once again. He announced on X that Tesla will now work not just on batteries, but on hydrogen fuel cell technology. This means that water-powered cars could become a reality. This decision comes at a time when Tesla is facing significant difficulties in mass-producing its 4680 battery cells. Perhaps this is why Musk is now moving towards new and more sustainable energy technologies. Imagine if cars started running on water. It would change the game for everything: petrol, diesel, and charging stations. Many experts say this decision could disrupt the entire auto industry in the future. But the big question is, will this engine actually work? How will it affect the automotive industry and other sectors? You'll find the answers to all of these in the video, so stay tuned until the end, because what we're about to reveal will truly surprise you. And yes, subscribe to the channel before continuing to see more interesting and authentic updates. Before learning about Tesla's new engine idea, it's important to understand Tesla's story, because this company wasn't born like any other car brand. It was founded in 2003 by a few engineers who dreamed that the world would one day replace petrol and diesel cars with electric cars. At that time, most people thought electric cars were slow, weak, and boring. But when Elon Musk joined this mission, everything changed. Musk not only invested money, but also gave the company a new direction with his thinking and vision. He clearly stated, "We will make cars that are fast, stylish, and fully electric." This vision later made Tesla the world's most popular auto company. Initially, Tesla launched the Roadster, a car based on Lotus's sports car model, but was completely electric. For the first time, people realized that electric cars could also accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers in a matter of seconds. It wasn't just a car, but a message: electric is the future. Following the Roadster, Tesla introduced the Model S, which launched the company into the luxury car market. The Model S's range, performance, and technologies like autopilot astonished people. It was the first electric car that was both beautiful to look at and powerful to drive. Then came the Model X, an SUV with falcon wing doors. This car was so futuristic that it forced even luxury car companies to rethink their designs. Tesla's true mass market move was the Model 3. It was designed to be affordable for even the middle class. Its price was kept low, but features and technology were not compromised. The Model 3 gave Tesla the recognition that has led every major company to compete in the EV market today. Around 2020, Tesla launched the Model Y, the SUV version of the Model 3. This car proved extremely popular among families, and within a few years, the Model Y became the world's best-selling car, and that too in the electric segment. This was Tesla's biggest victory, as electric cars were no longer just an expensive hobby, but became a common choice. Elon Musk's greatest strength was that he changed people's perceptions. Previously, it was believed that electric cars had a short range, difficult charging, and poor performance. However, Tesla simplified charging by creating the supercharger network and improved battery technology to increase range. The Model S and Model 3 achieved ranges of over 600 kilometers, a feat previously considered impossible. Tesla demonstrated that EVs are not only environmentally friendly, but also performance and technology friendly. But now Tesla is at a turning point. Mass production of the company's new generation of 4680 battery cells has been challenging. Manufacturing challenges and costs have led the company to explore alternatives. This is where the idea of a new water engine or hydrogen technology emerged, which has captured global attention. The big reveal: what exactly is the water engine? Before we hear about Tesla's new engine, let's understand clearly what a water engine or hydrogen-based system actually is. Many people think that simply adding water to a car will make it run, but in reality, that's not the case. Water itself isn't a fuel because it doesn't contain any energy. It needs to be broken down to extract hydrogen, and that hydrogen serves as the actual fuel. Now comes the technology called electrolysis. In this, water, H2O, is split into two parts: hydrogen, H2, and oxygen, O2, using electricity. This process consumes energy, meaning electricity is required. After this, the hydrogen can be stored in separate tanks. Later, when we need to drive the car, this hydrogen is fed into a special device called a fuel cell. Inside the fuel cell, hydrogen reacts with oxygen, and this chemical process produces electricity. This electricity powers the motor and the car moves forward. The byproduct of this entire process is simply water vapor, no smoke, no carbon dioxide, and no pollution. This is why this type of technology is called zero emission or clean energy. Now, some people hear the term reverse electrolysis and think it's something new. In fact, it's the same process known worldwide as the hydrogen fuel cell system. Reverse electrolysis simply means that while electrolysis produces hydrogen using electricity, here electricity is produced from hydrogen in the opposite direction. Now the question arises, is Tesla really building a car powered by water? So far, neither Elon Musk nor Tesla has used the term water engine in any official statement. But it's also true that Musk consistently supports research into new methods of sustainable energy. Therefore, the term water engine can currently only be seen as an idea or experimental direction. Hydrogen is a very light gas and has a high energy density. This means that a small amount of hydrogen can provide a lot of energy. Therefore, if produced and stored properly, it could become a clean alternative to petrol and diesel. Japanese companies like Toyota and Hyundai are already working on this technology. Their cars, such as the Toyota Mirai and Hyundai Nexo, are marketed as hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, FCEVs. These cars don't actually run on water, but on hydrogen. Only water vapor comes out of their tailpipes. Why is Tesla's interest in this direction growing now? Indeed, mass production of 4680 battery cells has not been as easy as the company had hoped. For this reason, Tesla and its engineers are now studying alternatives that could reduce their future dependence on batteries. Hydrogen-based technology is one of those options. This doesn't mean Tesla has developed a water engine, but it's certainly possible that in the future, the company may experiment with fuel cell hybrid systems or hydrogen energy integration. Now, let's look at why it's called a clean loop. If a system produces hydrogen from renewable energy, such as solar or wind, and then generates electricity, which in turn powers vehicles, it creates a closed loop, electricity. Water splits into hydrogen, then electricity, and finally just water. There's no pollution, no carbon. That's why scientists call it a clean loop energy system. Comparison electric versus hydrogen versus water engine. Now that we understand how water engines, i.e. hydrogen-based technology, actually work, a big question arises. How does it compare to other technologies? In other words, where does it truly stand between electric vehicles and petrol or diesel engines, combustion engines? First, let's talk about efficiency, as this is the key to any engine's strengths and weaknesses. If we look at a typical petrol or diesel engine, its energy efficiency is approximately 25% to 30%. This means that if you put in 1 liter of petrol, only 1/3 of the energy is used to propel the car. The rest is wasted in heat and smoke. This is why conventional engines consume so much energy and also cause pollution. Now let's turn to electric vehicles. This technology has proven to be the most efficient today. The electricity stored in the battery directly powers the motor, eliminating the need to burn any fuel. Therefore, their efficiency ranges from 85% to 90%. This means that almost all of the electricity that goes into the battery is used to power the car. This is why electric cars have become so popular, because they can travel long distances on a single charge and don't cause pollution. Now comes the water engine, or hydrogen fuel cell engine, which serves as a middle ground between the two. The energy source is hydrogen, and hydrogen reacts with oxygen in the fuel cell to produce electricity. The efficiency of this process ranges from 55% to 60%. This means it's about twice as efficient as a petrol engine, but not as efficient as electric vehicles. Nevertheless, this technology offers a very good balance because it doesn't produce smoke or carbon emissions and doesn't require the hassle of charging. Considering cost, petrol engines are cheaper, but their maintenance is expensive, fuel prices fluctuate, and they cause significant environmental damage. Electric vehicles are slightly more expensive to purchase because their batteries cost more, but their running costs are much lower. A single charge costs 5 to 6 times less than a petrol engine. Water engines or hydrogen engines are currently the most expensive because hydrogen is difficult and expensive to produce and store. But in the future, as technology advances and hydrogen is produced in green ways, i.e. from solar or wind energy, its prices will also fall. Now let's talk about charging versus refueling, as this is a very practical distinction that determines everyday use. If you have an electric car, it can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 8 hours to charge it, depending on the charger you use. A supercharger can charge up to 80% in half an hour, but it's still not as fast as refueling with petrol or diesel. On the other hand, if we talk about a car with a hydrogen fuel cell or water engine, refueling takes just 3 to 5 minutes, just like refueling at a petrol pump. This is a huge advantage, especially for those who travel long distances or want to complete a trip quickly. Another difference is range. Electric cars can now travel an average of 400 to 600 kilometers, while hydrogen cars can go up to 600 to 700 kilometers. For example, the Toyota Mirai can travel approximately 650 kilometers on a single refueling. This range is slightly better than EVs and close to that of gasoline cars. Therefore, many believe that hydrogen engines may prove to be better for long-distance travel in the future. Combustion engines cause the most pollution of the three. Burning gasoline and diesel produces carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and other harmful gases, which are a major cause of air pollution and global warming. EVs don't emit any emissions directly, but the lithium and cobalt used in their batteries can harm the environment. Furthermore, if the electricity comes from coal or a non-renewable source, EVs are no longer completely green. The biggest advantage of hydrogen engines or water engines is that they emit only water vapor from their exhaust, meaning no carbon emissions. However, there's a caveat. This technology is truly environmentally beneficial only if hydrogen is produced using a green method. Currently, most hydrogen in the world is produced from natural gas, which produces some carbon emissions. In essence, electric vehicles are the most energy efficient and practical solution today. Hydrogen engines or water engines could be the next step in that direction, addressing some of the shortcomings of EVs such as charging time and range. Combustion engines, now an obsolete technology, are slowly becoming a thing of the past. Therefore, water engines can be considered a middle ground. They are not as efficient as EVs, but also not as polluting as gasoline. Refueling is fast, range is good, and if hydrogen production becomes green, this technology could prove to be completely clean and sustainable. In the future, electric cars may be used for short-distance travel within cities and hydrogen engines for long-distance or heavy-duty vehicles. These two technologies are not mutually exclusive. Rather, together, they can lead the world toward the goal of net zero emissions. This is the real truth. No magic, no impossible dream, just a new direction based on science that is slowly becoming a reality. Challenges and risks, the roadblocks ahead. Now that we understand how exciting water engines or hydrogen technology are, it's important to understand their challenges and risks. Because the truth is, any new technology inevitably presents some challenges. And if these aren't addressed, no matter how brilliant the idea, it's difficult to implement in real life. The biggest challenge is the fueling network. Today, if you drive an electric car, you'll find a charging station in almost every city. Petrol and diesel pumps are available every few kilometers. But when it comes to hydrogen engines, hydrogen refueling stations are very few worldwide. For example, even in a large country like the United States, hydrogen stations are mostly concentrated in a few states like California. Europe and Japan are ahead in this direction, but the network remains limited. In countries like India, the number of hydrogen fueling stations is limited. This means that if a company wants to introduce a water engine or hydrogen car, it must first build this refueling network, which is extremely costly and time-consuming. Another major challenge is hydrogen storage safety. Hydrogen is a very light and flammable gas. Storing it requires extremely strong and secure tanks that can withstand high pressure. Today's fuel cell vehicles typically use pressures of up to 700 bar, many times higher than a typical petrol tank. A leak or an accidental rupture could cause a major disaster. Therefore, every company working with hydrogen must pay close attention to safety. Companies like Toyota, Hyundai, and BMW use carbon fiber reinforced tanks, which are extremely strong and tested in their hydrogen vehicles to minimize this risk. Still, public fear remains because even the smallest spark of hydrogen can cause a fire. This is why the success of this technology is tied not just to engineering, but also to public trust in its safety. If people don't believe it's safe, they won't adopt it. Therefore, Tesla or any company working in this direction must maintain transparency in its safety technology, clearly communicating to the public how safe their systems are, what tests have been conducted, and what preparedness they have in place to deal with accidents. Now comes the matter of infrastructure costs. Building a hydrogen refueling network is very expensive. Setting up a single station costs approximately $1 to $2 million. In comparison, an EV charging station costs about 1/10 of that. Furthermore, pipelines, storage, and safety systems are required for hydrogen production and transport. This means that governments and companies will need to make significant investments if they want to advance this technology. This is why some countries around the world, like Japan, Germany, and South Korea, have initiated government funding for hydrogen infrastructure. However, in others, it's still at a nascent stage. Furthermore, another important aspect is regulatory hurdles, legal and safety regulations. Each country has different safety standards for handling, storing, and transporting hydrogen. For example, Europe has stringent standards like ISO 16887, which determine hydrogen purity, pressure, and safety levels. In the United States, agencies like the Department of Energy, DOE, and NHTSA also regulate this. Any new car or fuel system must pass these safety approvals. This means that before launching a new water engine, a company must complete numerous tests, documentation, and obtain government approvals, which can take months, if not years. Another risk is fire risk. As we mentioned, hydrogen is a highly flammable gas. If a leak occurs and comes into contact with a hot surface or spark, a fire can ignite instantly. Hydrogen flames are transparent, meaning they are invisible, making detection difficult in an accident. Therefore, hydrogen vehicles and stations are equipped with special sensors that measure the amount of hydrogen in the air and immediately sound an alarm. If a company like Tesla is to adopt this technology, it will need to further advance these safety measures to prevent any risks. Public trust is not just about technology and safety. Even today, many people are skeptical about hydrogen. Some think it's too dangerous. Others think it's just a future thing. But in reality, it's a situation somewhere between the two. The technology is becoming safer, but widespread adoption will take time. Companies like Tesla must openly share their experiments, test results, and safety reports to build public trust. Environmental impact, a green promise, or a mirage. If we truly want to understand how beneficial water engines or hydrogen technology are to the environment, it's important to first understand how much pollution our vehicles generate. Today, an average gasoline car releases approximately 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide, CO2, into the air each year, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. This means that just one car emits as much carbon as approximately 200 trees can absorb in a year. If we consider millions of cars, these emissions play a significant role in global warming. This is why there's a shift towards zero-emission technology worldwide. The question now is, can water engines truly solve this problem? Technically, if hydrogen is produced from green sources, that is, from renewable energy sources like wind, solar, or hydropower, this technology could be nearly 100% pollution-free because it uses hydrogen as fuel. And when it reacts with oxygen in the engine, only water vapor is released, no carbon, no smoke. This means that a car that was emitting 4.6 tons of CO2 every year will now have almost zero emissions. But here's the truth. Approximately 95% of the hydrogen produced globally today comes from natural gas known as gray hydrogen. This process itself releases a significant amount of carbon. This means that if we switch from gasoline to hydrogen made from fossil fuels, the environmental impact won't be as significant as we might think. Therefore, experts say we must move toward green hydrogen, that is, hydrogen produced from renewable energy, not gas or coal. Only then will this technology truly prove to be a green promise. Comparing this to electric vehicles, EVs, EVs also have zero tailpipe emissions, meaning they also don't emit smoke. But mining metals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel used in their batteries harms the environment. Extracting these metals pollutes both land and water, and mining emits large amounts of CO2. Furthermore, recycling batteries at the end of their life is a major issue. If not done properly, it can itself become a new environmental problem. Hydrogen fuel cell systems, however, do not face this problem because they do not require the extensive mining required for batteries. The only problem is that producing and storing hydrogen is currently expensive and energy intensive. If this process is powered by affordable, renewable energy, it could prove to be even more sustainable than EVs. This technology is crucial in the context of climate change. The transport sector worldwide accounts for approximately 25% of global carbon emissions. This means that if we run cars, buses, and trucks on clean fuel, the pace of climate change can be significantly slowed. And this is where technologies like water engines can make a huge difference, because they not only make vehicles cleaner, but could also be used in power generation and heavy industry in the future. Economic side, cost, maintenance, and mass adoption. Now let's discuss the economic side of water engines. That is, how cost-effective this technology is, how it will be maintained, and whether it will become accessible to the general public in the future. Here too, we will only discuss what is fact-based as of today. First, let's understand what is special about water engines or hydrogen fuel cell systems. These engines have very few moving parts. This means there is less friction, and the likelihood of parts wearing out or failing is also very low. For example, a conventional petrol engine has hundreds of constantly rotating parts: pistons, crankshafts, valves, belts, and so on. A fuel cell engine, on the other hand, doesn't have many of these components. Here, a chemical reaction produces electricity, which directly powers the motor. Its biggest advantage is low maintenance. This means you don't need to frequently change the engine oil, clean the filter, or perform major repairs. Now, let's discuss the difference between batteries and fuel cells. Lithium-ion batteries used in electric vehicles, EVs, typically have a lifespan of 8 to 10 years. After this, the battery's capacity gradually declines, requiring frequent replacement. A new EV battery still costs lakhs of rupees, accounting for a significant portion of the car's total cost. This is why, while the long-term maintenance cost of EVs is low, battery replacement can be a significant expense. On the other hand, hydrogen fuel cells typically have a lifespan of 5,000 to 8,000 hours of use, which translates to approximately 250,000 to 400,000 kilometers. This means that fuel cells can operate for a long time without major repairs, and when they fail, their replacement is not as expensive as a battery. Additionally, capacity degradation, gradually decreasing performance, isn't as rapid as batteries. Therefore, fuel cell systems may have lower maintenance costs than EVs in the long run. The question now is, will water engines be mass market friendly? Not at the moment. Today, hydrogen fuel cell cars like the Toyota Mirai or Hyundai Nexo cost between $50,000 and $70,000. This is due to the high cost of hydrogen systems and limited production and storage infrastructure. However, it's also true that any new technology is always initially expensive. Over time, as mass production increases, costs begin to decrease. This is what happened with EVs. What used to be very expensive is now available in mid-range cars. The same is expected with hydrogen. According to the International Energy Agency, IEA, if large-scale production of green hydrogen begins in the coming decade, the price of hydrogen could drop by up to 50%. Furthermore, as fuel cell production increases and technology improves, its cost will also decrease. This could make hydrogen-powered cars accessible to the general public in the future. Another economically important factor is fuel cost. 1 kilogram of hydrogen contains approximately the same amount of energy as 3 liters of gasoline. Currently, its price is high, but if production begins from green sources, it could become even cheaper than gasoline. And since refueling takes just a few minutes, it could prove economically viable for trucks, buses, and long-haul vehicles. Do you think water-powered cars are really the future? Share your opinion in the comments.